We are on Tractate Nedarim, page 86. We start today on page 85b, 8 lines from the top of the page. We explain that when it's come to a husband and wife, husband committed himself to shelter, protected her, take care of all of her needs, clothing, etc. And she committed herself toward him. So if she said that I don't have any obligation to give you the basic sustenance, so according to one view it's ineffective. Rabbi Akiva holds that he needs to do hafara, he needs to do a revocation of the vow. Why? Because sometimes there is odef, there is a money in a addition to what it's committed between the two parties. And then you have the issue of driving benefit from that. And therefore, he needs to do hatarat nedarim. The Tana Kama, the first one, did not hold that way. Then you hear the view of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, who said that the husband need to do hafara, need to do a revocation, because in case is a divorce taking place later on, all maaseh yadea asurim, all the her labor, her income will be prohibited toward him, and then in case he wants to go reverse and have her back, is a problem. So therefore, it's better to do a revocation earlier, and you hold the same as Shmuel. And we explain in the previous shiur that we differentiate between two entities. One is Hekdesh, and one is a Neder, Konam. Hekdesh, a person cannot makdish, cannot sanctify something that belongs to someone else, or something that is not yet in the world. Versus Konam or Neder, a person can prohibit himself from eating the fruits of his fellow. So it means that the person can sanctify makdish davar shelo ba'olam, can sanctify something that is not yet in the world. So we are, page 85b, 8 lines from the top. Ela amar Rav Yosef, shane konamot, hoil ve'adam oser perot chavero alav, oser nami davar shelo ba la'olam alav. So since, as we said, that the person prohibited upon himself, can prohibit upon himself the produce that belong to someone else, the same way he can prohibit himself or sanctify something that is not yet in the world. Amar le Abaye, Abaye rejected and said, Bishlama adam oser perot chavero alav, shara adam oser perotav al chavero. A person can prohibit the produce upon himself. So, אלא יאסור דבר שלא בא לעולם על חברו. A person cannot prohibit upon his fellow something that is not yet in the world. שהרי אין אדם אוסר פירות חברו על חברו. A person cannot prohibit the produce of his fellow upon his fellow. We explained many times that there is a difference between gavra and chefza, if you remember, between entity and people. Anyway, אלא אמר רב הונא ברד רב יהושע, באומרת יקדשו ידיי לעושיהם, וידיים היתנהו בעולם. She says that my hand will be sanctified to one who made them, which means my hand will be like a neder, like konam. So therefore, since they had already in existence, so therefore she have an effective neder, and therefore they need to have a revocation. Tosfot explain, here you have the melacha, the yadayim, the action that is in the world, so therefore it's a form of vow, and the husband needs to do a revocation. So the Gemarrah challenged that and said, V'chi amra ha'achi kadsha. Is that a manner of which you have a hekdesh and sanctification, and you have chalot neder, you have an effective vow, v'hamishabdan yadea labal. We said it many times that she have a commitment, the obligation, the labor of her hands to the husband. That's part of the arrangement, the agreement. So it's Amra lechi migarsha, which means that she go by a retroactive act, that she said, when it happened, we get divorced, so it means later on. That's the way the Ran explained. For sure, it's a difficult concept because if you remember, we studied in Ketubot 59 the whole issue of how retroactive acts take place. If you remember, day before yesterday, I think, we mentioned the Khatam Sofer, that someone came, the Rosh HaKal, the head of the community, and he made a vow that he never do it again, and then he wants to change his mind, and the Khatam Sofer said that you are Mishuabad LaKahal, that you are basically subjugated yourself to the community, you are not really a free person, and therefore you don't have Chalot Neder. So in that manner you can say here too. So Gemara challenged and said, Hashta mi hatlo migarsha, as we said she's not yet divorced. How do you know that this is an effective way? You said that if you tell me that the person sanctified something that is not yet in the world, we understand. But otherwise, how do you explain it? That's the way the Ran said. Page 86, אמר רבי אילה, ומה אילו אומר לחברו שדה זו שאני מוכר לך, לכשכך אני ממך תקדש, ומי לא קדשה? If you tell me that someone said, here is the field, and the field that I'm selling to you now, when I'll buy it back from you, it will be consecrated. So it means that he already talked about third point before it happens. So they said, do you mean to say that that's a retroactive act can take effect, and you juxtapose to us? So he said, Matkiv l'Rabbi Yirmiyahu dame. If you talk about the field, he owns it now. So he can do this type of sanctification. Versus Isha, when she's married, she cannot do that because, as we said many times, that it's part of the agreement that basically it's go to the husband. This field that I sold to you, when I take it from you, then it will be sanctified. Mikacha. So do you mean to say that the field is consecrated? Cannot say it. So the same here, since the wife, she is obligated to give the labor of her hands to her husband, so she cannot make a retroactive act from now until after happened. There is a concept, there is a musag that we need to understand. The idea is beyado le'agdisho, meaning when a person has the power in his hand to sanctify something. It's not so simple, because in your hand, meaning you have it. It's not something that you will have it, it's present. There is a book by the great Rabbi Stern, it's called Betzel HaChochma, and he asked a question that indirectly is connected. I heard it from Rabbi Strom, Yosef Nachum Strom. So he quoted this Betzel HaChochma. It's a fellow that came to Rav Stern and asked a question. He used to go to a barber, and he noticed once, twice, several times that he messed up his beard. He didn't do a good job. He gets so angry one time, he says, I'll never step in. I don't want to do anything with this guy, it's over. Fine. So he went to another barber, hairstylist. Happy. But shortly afterward, the hairstylist moved out of the community, and now he's stuck. The only hairstylist left is this guy. So he came to Rabbi Betzalel Stern, the author of Betzel HaChochma, and he asked him that question. What should I do? So he said something very interesting. He says, look, in a sense, it's the same as here when they talk about field. He says, the beard that you commit yourself is different beard than the one you have now. Yeah. Because right now, you have a new one.
Okay.
So therefore,
every day it's new.
אוסר על חברו דבר שלא בא לעולם. You prohibited upon your fellow. It applies if you said konam. If you use the term of neder, he used the term konam, then it's maybe prohibited for him forever to go to this guy. But if he didn't use the term of neder, he didn't use the term of konam, so according to Rav Stern, Betzel HaChochma, it's still a possibility for him to go back to this guy. Matkef larav papa midami. You cannot compare the story of the woman to the story of the field that sold gabei zvina, when it's come to sell. Psika miltaihu. When you tell me about this sell, so it's he owns the property, the produce, so therefore the seller cannot sanctify anything, because it's a person cannot sanctify something that does not belong to him. Gabei isha mipsika milta, it's still there. You cannot compare the two. As long as they married, it's an obligation to give it to him. Okay, so it means, as Gemarrah Rabbi Weisblum in 67 said that if you have two people and one put a collateral of his estate in exchange someone else until he paid off his debt, is like putting a lien. So he said, when I have it back free and clear, I will sanctify it. Milo kadsha, so he can do it because temporarily you have a lien. The moment the lien is over, he can do it, so he can have a retroactive act. So Gemarrah rejected that and said, how do you compare the field to the wife? When it's come to a field, he can redeem it. She has no power at this point to initiate divorce. Why? Because it's not yet there. Even there are some rabbis that ask a question. We learn a concept of ani nizonet ve'ani osa. I don't want neither one. I don't want income from you, and I don't want to be subject to you. But anyway, there is a lot of write-up by the Ran based in the Mishnah in Ketubot 59b. Anyway, so halodamya ela lomer lechavero sadeh zu shemishkanti lecha ל10 שנים, which means that he made a debt that the collateral is go for 10 years period. לכשדהבדלה ממך תיקדש, when I redeem it from you, so it will be sanctified. So they said, mi lo kadsha, for sure that field is total sanctified. So you cannot compare. So the Gemara said, matkif la Rav Ashi. By the way, the Ktzotz HaChoshen asked a question here. He said, a person can make sanctification or anything like that when it's in his domain, in his power. But he said, when it's come to konam, how you be able to do any manner of hegdesh when it's a konam? He said it's not in his reshut, it's not in his authority. So the Ktzotz HaChoshen bring the Rivash. And the Rivash said that if you talk about mammon birshuto, if you talk about estate or monetary value, this is in his domain, that's different. But here, when you talk about korbanot, offering, so he is part of the korban, he's part of the shiabud. Anyway, matkev la Rav Ashi midami hatam. Over there, you cannot say why Kates. Over there is a fixed time frame of 10 years. Yisha meitli kitzuta. When you talk about the husband-wife, is no measure of fixed time limit, so she can know in advance when she will be divorced and released from her husband's jurisdictions. So it's davar shelo bala olam, is something that it's not yet in the world. There's a book called Kovet Shiurim that elaborates on that framework, because it's actually behind the capability is not realistic. Ela Amar Rav Ashi, page 86b. So Rav Ashi explained, when you ask this question in case of konamot, you have a difficulty. Why? Shani konamot dechi kedushat haguf dame. You talk about they like inherit sanctification. If you talk about something that is consecrated, and the unleavened, the chametz, and emancipation, which means that release an item from a lien. So if someone make his ox, his chametz, or his aputiki, his servant, and then he sanctified his ox to offering, or his Erev Pesach, and he have the chametz prohibited to have ana'at, to have benefit from that, or release his servant. So the hegdesh, the sanctification, is already imposed on the ox. Prohibition of the chametz applies, releasing to a servant applied, and then basically uprooted the shiabud. So therefore Shmuel hold that the person cannot sanctify something that is not yet in the world, and he hold the same as Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, that if she prohibit her labor upon her husband, so her husband need to release it because it's something that is not yet in the world. Lamali Shema Yegarshena. Why Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri needs to say that the husband need to revoke the vow, and because the Chalot Nedarim, the affection, the effective of the vow after they divorce, the vow, it's effect immediately. So the Gemara said, Tnei, you have to learn that what? That ve'od shema yigarshena. So it means Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri hold that the reason for the husband to do a manner of revocation has two reasons. One, since this matter of konam, of neder, have of ka'at shiabud, taking away the lien upon the husband and is affected immediately. And even you tell me that the sages strengthen the right of the husband, and they hold that he has a manner of kinyanim, manner of ownership in her labor, and not only shiabud be'alma, not only a regular manner of contract like between two parties. And therefore, since you have this type of rabbinic decree, so her vow, her neder, cannot be effective as long as she is in a state of marriage. And the reason we ask him to make a revocation, it's because we have a concern that eventually they get divorced, and then you have chalot neder, and then the manner of the vow will take place. And that's the explanation of the Ran, based on Gemarrah Ketubot, page 59b. The Rambam tells us in Ilchot Arachim Vecharamim, chapter 6, that the person cannot sanctify something that is not in existence. One cannot concentrate an entity that is not yet in existence. And if one says to another, so and so produce is forbidden to you, his words are of no consequence. Because, as we said, a person cannot prohibit another produce to that other person. You can do it upon yourself, but you cannot impose it upon someone else.
Yachem leshuloim malachai yeshuloim malachai